What's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's good to see you, and all you new faces. Today we'll be conducting an experiment, and this is actually a response to a video posted by James Hoffman. Now, James recently posted a video exploring the idea of higher surface area and how that translates into more extraction when it comes to making things such as stock. I'll give you guys a quick snippet of the video because who better to explain it than the man himself.
So I was watching a video on making stock, but I was watching them prep the stock and they were putting big chunks of vegetable in. Do you know what it made me think of? Someone making a V60 with just like whole coffee beans. It seemed to me that having a very large piece of vegetable wasn't a very efficient way to make stock. So here's what I'm thinking. Instead of just chopping big, ugly pieces of vegetable, what if we went finer and finer and finer? What if we went to an extreme? What if we juiced the vegetables?
The link to the full video will be in the description, and I highly recommend you guys go check it out. Also, if you guys are into coffee just like myself, I highly recommend checking out the rest of his channel because it's jam-packed full of coffee goodness. So in today's video, we'll be leveraging off some of those ideas and conducting a similar experiment for ourselves. The only difference being, instead of using a juicer, I'll be very finely dicing up the vegetables. The reason being, I feel that the solids of the vegetables also contribute to the overall flavor of the final product, and I don't want any of that to go to waste. So with that out of the way, let's dive into today's video. To make the stock, I used onions, carrots, celery, leeks, garlic, some thyme, coriander, and a bay leaf. I did my best to keep the quantities of ingredients as similar as possible, so I weighed everything out. Why? Because 2 carrots can mean very different things when they vary in length and girth. Also, I used carrots as a baseline for easier tracking. The exact quantities will be in the description. Keep in mind that while this was adapted from Gordon Ramsay's cookbook, the same one that James used, this is not a recipe that I would say provides the best results. More on that later. For the traditional stock, I basically peeled and roughly chopped the vegetables. For those of you who don't know how to peel and clean a leek, here's how. Begin by finding the little bow on the outermost leaves. Gently slice through it and peel off the outer leaves. Next, slice off any bits of the darker leaves that are woody and tough. Slice your leek lengthwise like this. Turn it 90 degrees and do the same. The leaves should open up like a not so little brush. Open up the leaves and wash it thoroughly to remove any dirt and you're good to go. Sweat your vegetables with a pinch of salt until they become semi-translucent and have a little bit of color. At this point, I tossed in some whole peppercorns, poured in a liter of water, and placed the herbs in their little sauna. I brought everything up to a boil and simmered it for about 20 minutes. Finally, I took it off the heat, poured in 100 grams of white wine, and left it to cool completely before straining. The reason why I mentioned that this recipe probably doesn't produce the best results is because I find that 20 minutes is far too short a time for a good stock to be made. Also, not cooking off the wine at the end left an alcoholic aftertaste. As for the second pot of stock, I basically used the exact same quantities of ingredients. The only difference being, instead of chopping them into larger chunks, I opted to finely chop them. Since tossing the ingredients into my food processor would save me a lot of time, I did just that. The only ingredient I didn't finely chop was the garlic. This is because I didn't want to end up with a stock that tasted overly garlicky. So instead, I separated the cloves individually to increase surface area and fried them off with the rest of the vegetables. Other than that, everything else was kept the same. Unsurprisingly, the resulting stocks were very different in terms of color. The traditional one was considerably paler, clearer and less orange than the second batch. Also, the second batch was a little bit more viscous. As for how they tasted, aside from the alcoholic aftertaste, the first batch was fairly clean with a mild vegetable flavor. I would go as far as to say that it's almost too clean, but this isn't a recipe video. The second batch tasted a lot like carrot broth with a hint of garlic. While not extremely overpowering, you would struggle to call it vegetable stock.
So there you have the results of today's experiment. I think it's safe to say that more surface area definitely equates to more extraction. The thing about stock is that we want it to taste of what it's called. So beef stock should taste like beef, chicken stock should taste like chicken, pork stock, if there's such a thing, should taste of pork, mushroom stock should taste of mushrooms, and vegetable stock should taste of vegetables. However, in the experiment, due to the increased amount of surface area, the ensuing stock ended up tasting a lot more of carrot as compared to the other ingredients. So it wouldn't be fair to call it vegetable stock because it would be more of a carrot stock. This is not to say that a higher amount of surface area equates to a worse overall product. Having more surface area definitely has its pros in that you can use a lot less of a particular ingredient while getting a lot more flavor. This means that if we were to make a vegetable stock again, using what we learned from the experiment, all we have to do is to reduce the amount of carrots and we should end up with a very flavorful, impactful, clear vegetable stock. This also means that we can use less ingredients than a traditional recipe, all while ending up with a stock that's as tasty as what it was supposed to be, which ultimately reduces the amount of wasted vegetables once you strain your stock. But that's it for today. If you enjoyed the video or learned something new, like if you liked the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with all your friends and family and neighbors and your neighbor's dog and cat and all your social circles. Also, let me know in the comments down below what other dishes you'd like to see, what other recipes you'd like to learn, or what other products you'd like me to review. But for now, I'll say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next video.